They say there are two sides to every story, and the truth is somewhere in between. Hey guys, I'm Dennis. I'm 23, and I fell in love with a girl and then accused her of lying to me. It was probably the worst boyfriend move ever. But it was all because silkworms were growing out of my skin. Before I tell you my story, take a second to subscribe for more hidden wisdom. Okay, so it's not every day that you get trapped in your own horror movie. But that's exactly what it felt like when I first saw the worms. I'll never forget it because it was the night my parents told me and my sister they were separating and considering a divorce. We took a trip all the way out to the lake to go camping for the weekend. And I remember the drive was brutally silent, and you could cut the tension with a knife. My dad knuckling the steering wheel, not saying a word. My mom just as silent, her forehead stuck to the passenger window. That night, after we set up camp, my mom and dad explained to my sister, Tess, and I that they were separating. How could they be splitting up? What would happen to us? I was doing everything I could not to cry in front of my dad, but I couldn't hold it, so I just ran out of there. I ran as fast as I could and as far away as I could get from the campfire. I didn't know where I was going, and I got lost in the woods until my dad finally tracked me down. Well, when we got back to the tent, I just wanted to go to sleep. But when I woke up, everything was worse. See, I thought something bit me, and I got up to inspect my tent, but I couldn't find anything. But the itching didn't go away. I noticed these tiny little silkworms burrowing under my skin. I tried to dig them out, but those sneaky little buggers kept multiplying. And soon, they were invading me all over. I woke up the whole family, who was already on edge, and I felt like it just wouldn't stop. We left the trip early on my account. And once I took a shower and got into my own bed, the silkworms stopped. For about a week. And then they came back. I didn't want to say anything at first, but my sister noticed the sores on my arms and told my parents. And when I said I was being attacked by silkworms, they took me immediately to the hospital. I told them that the worms had caused the sores on my arms, but my sister said she saw me picking at my skin. But it was the worms, I tell you. The doctors ran tests and consulted with experts. They even sent me to this Center for Health Sciences. And the main clinician guy there, well, he told me that I might be sick, but not in the way I thought. That's when I learned that things aren't exactly as they seem. As much as I thought I was seeing these worms, this head honcho doctor thought it was all in my head. I just thought I was seeing silkworms, but they weren't really there. After I started talking with this head doctor, things began to calm down. The worms would come, but less frequently. With all the drama I was bringing to the family, my mom and dad thought it would be best to cool it on the separation. And I think my illness brought them back together. They rekindled their love, and once things eased up, the worms went away. It was hard for me to swallow because it seemed so real. But maybe my mind had been playing tricks on me. And even though the worms were gone, my whole body and face was all marked up with scars, and I became incredibly self-conscious. I stayed away from social gatherings and withdrew from others. When people noticed the scars, they always assumed the worst. Needless to say, I didn't date a lot of girls. But luckily, Tess was always trying to get me to talk to this girl or that. I usually refused, but this one day, she introduced me to Bella, who was so gorgeous, I didn't even think she could breathe the same air as me. Well, how could I resist? Tess set us up for a date on Friday night. I remember that whole week, I was a bucket of nerves. I don't know if you feel this way or not, but you know how sometimes you're just drawn to a person? That's how it was with Bella. I made reservations and cleaned out my car. I even used some face creams to hide my blemishes and scars. But an hour before our date, the worms came back. It started with one growing out of my hand, and then up my arm. and on my toes, and on my nose. The worms were having a party, and I wished like heck I hadn't been invited. But then I remembered the worms weren't really there. I counted backwards from 10, which is what my head doctor told me to do in times of stress. But it didn't work. I just rolled down my sleeves and tried to have a good time. I didn't think that Bella noticed the worms, but she did notice I was tense. I always imagined girls like Bella to have big personalities, but she was quieter than I imagined and easy to talk to. I couldn't believe that after only a couple hours, I admitted I was hallucinating worms. I talked more about it with her than anyone. She would call regularly to talk, and we'd meet up every now and then. Things were off and on with the worms, but it nearly cost me my construction gig, but at least I could be totally open with Bella. And it made our relationship feel normal, or so I thought. See, I noticed something strange one time when I was telling her all about the first time I saw the worms. She started taking notes. It became Bella's favorite subject, and I was beginning to grow tired of all her questions about the worms. One day, I got a call from the Institute for Disease Control, and the lady on the phone told me that she was reviewing my file and wanted to know if I needed an appointment. She seemed to know all about my condition, but I hadn't gone to the hospital or spoken to anybody about it in years, except Bella. I questioned why she was so interested in me. Did she love me like she seemed to claim? Or was she trying to study me? Was I a freak to her? A lab rat? One night when I invited her over for dinner, I found her snooping around in my bedroom and looking through my desk. And I lost it. I asked her who she worked for. She looked at me like I was crazy, but I told her that we had been seeing each other for a while, but I knew zip about her job. She told me she worked for the Institute for Disease Control. She kept saying things weren't like they looked, and I told her I wouldn't be her lab rat and shouted at her to get out. Over the next few weeks, the worms drove me out of my mind. They were worse than ever, and even though I knew they were in my mind, I couldn't stop seeing them or feeling them. I was just about out of my mind when my sister called and told me that I had broken her friend's heart. I told her that her friend didn't have a heart, and that she was some kind of secret scientist spy who was only interested in me for my body. I asked her not to hook me up with any of her friends again, but she just laughed at me. "That wasn't a date," she said. "That was a doctor's appointment." Well, I sure thought I had it figured out, but Tess told me a different story altogether. She said that Bella was meeting with me free of charge. More than that, she was receiving grants to do further research and thought she could help me and people like me. Tess told me to call her. When I met up with Bella, I apologized for going berserk, but she understood. I told her that I thought she was spying on me. She said it was complicated. Originally, she agreed to meet with me for clinical reasons. But the more we spent time together, she grew to have feelings. In fact, the reason she was snooping around that night was to remove a breakup letter she had put there earlier. She came over to break up because she couldn't date a patient. But by the end of dinner, she decided our relationship was more important. And she was going to take herself off the research team just to be with me. I hated feeling like a lab rat, but I needed help. And I finally agreed to let Bella introduce me to the team of researchers, who explained that there were some theories to suggest that the worms were a result of an infectious agent, like a tick bite or something, which meant I wasn't crazy at all. Something might have gotten me in the night I got lost in the woods. It's still trouble, but having a team of experts who believes me makes all the difference. And having a girlfriend to support me makes me feel like the luckiest guy this side of the equator. Never forget, appearances can be deceptive. Even if you think you have something figured out, you may find more pieces to the puzzle. I thought my girlfriend wanted me for my body, but it turned out that she actually liked me. Have you ever misjudged someone or something? Tell us about it in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.